Welcome back to the GuardWare knowledge base. In this video, we'll cover data types in GuardWare, what they are, how they work, and how to set them up correctly before you scan for them. When GuardWare scans your environment, it needs to know what to look for. Each data type is a detection rule that tells GuardWare what kind of content to treat as sensitive. To cover the most common cases right out of the box, GuardWare ships with a built-in library of predefined data types spanning payment card industry data, or PCI, personally identifiable information, or PII, sensitive personal information, or SPI, and protected health information, or PHI. For most environments, these predefined types are enough to get meaningful scan results straight away without any setup required. But every organization handles information that's unique to them. Internal employee ID formats, proprietary project codes, confidential contract terminology, these are all things GuardWare won't recognize unless you define them. Custom data types are how you extend GuardWare's detection to cover exactly that. Before you create a custom data type, two things need to be in place. First, GuardWare requires at least one data classification to exist before you can save a custom data type. Classifications are sensitivity labels that you create and assign to data types. The sensitivity level of each label is determined by the order in which you create them, starting at level 0 for the first label created. So when planning your classification hierarchy, create them from least sensitive to most sensitive to ensure the levels are assigned correctly. If you haven't set up classifications yet, navigate to Data Governance, then Data Classification, and set those up first. Second, if you want to assign a data owner when creating a data type, that person needs to already exist in the data owner list. A data owner is the person in your organization responsible for a specific type of sensitive data. And when GuardWare detects that data type during a scan, the assigned owner receives an automatic email alert. It's worth understanding that a data owner is not necessarily the person who owns the file or the device that the sensitive data lives on. The data owner is accountable for the data itself regardless of where it turns up, which means the right person is always notified when sensitive data appears somewhere unexpected. Head to Data Governance, then Data Owner, and add them before coming back here. With both of those in place, you're ready to create a custom data type. To start creating your custom data type, navigate to Data Governance, then Data Type. This is the Data Type List page, where all your predefined and custom data types live. From here, you can also export existing data types or import your own via a JSON file, which is useful if you're migrating configurations across environments or sharing data type definitions across teams. Click Create Data Type to create a new custom data type. The first thing you'll fill out is the General Information section. Enter a clear, descriptive name for the data type, something like employee ID numbers or confidential contract terms, and an optional description to help other administrators understand what this data type represents and why it's sensitive. Next, select a data identifier from the dropdown. This is the method GuardWare will use to recognize this type of sensitive content, and there are three options: sensitive words, regular expressions, and file name expressions. We'll cover what each one does in a moment. After selecting your identifier, select a classification to set the sensitivity level for this data type. Then, select one or more data owners from the Data Owners dropdown. After assigning data owners, you'll find three optional dropdown fields: region, category, and subcategory. These are purely for organizational purposes and help you filter and manage data types in the list view. Region lets you associate a data type with a specific country. Category lets you group it under PCI, PII, SPI, or FI. Subcategory is populated based on whichever category you select, so selecting PCI, for example, will show options like credit card and debit card. None of these affect how GuardWare detects the data, but filling them in makes it easier to manage your data types as the list grows. With general information complete, the next section that appears is where you configure the data identifier you selected. Let's walk through each one. Starting with sensitive words. This identifier works best when sensitive content can be identified by specific words or phrases appearing in a file. You'll see 3 conditions to configure. All phrases. Requires every specified phrase to be present before a file is flagged, which is useful when a document only becomes sensitive in a very specific combination of terms. At least n phrases. Flags a document when a minimum number of phrases from your list appear, which works well when partial matches are still meaningful. None of the phrases condition works as an exclusion rule, meaning if any phrase in this list is found, the file won't be flagged even if other conditions match. This helps filter out content that contains terms you'd otherwise flag. For each condition, type your phrase into the input field and press enter to add it to the list, then repeat for each phrase you want to include. Moving on to regular expressions, or regex, this identifier works best when sensitive data follows a predictable, structured pattern. Employee ID formats, BN numbers, product codes, and reference numbers are all strong cases for regex detection. Enter your pattern into the regular expression field using standard regex syntax. Then paste some sample text into the test text field and click Validate. GuardWare will confirm whether your pattern matches as intended, so always test with a few different examples before moving on. 2 additional options help reduce false positives. Space before and space after ensure GuardWare only matches the pattern when it has a space on either side of the sensitive content, preventing partial matches inside larger strings. Checksum validation can be enabled for patterns like credit card numbers to verify that detected values are mathematically valid and not just structurally similar. Masking controls how much of a detected value is hidden in reports and dashboards, ranging from fully visible to 75% masked, which protects actual sensitive values while still confirming they were found. Finally, file name expressions. This identifier works best when the file name itself signals sensitivity rather than the file's content. If your organization uses naming conventions like confidential _ HR _ or financial _ report, file name expressions let you detect those files by pattern alone. Type your file name pattern into the Add Expression field using wildcards, where an asterisk matches any number of characters and a question mark matches exactly one. Then click the plus button to add it to the list. You can add multiple expressions to a single data type. You can also find a Return File Content toggle here. Set it to On if you want GuardWare to surface the content inside matched files, or off if flagging by file name alone is sufficient. Once your identifier is configured, the next step for all 3 paths is subtypes, which are a more specific detection rules that sit underneath the parent data type and help reduce false positives. You can reference these subtypes here to tighten detection further. Subtype, if present, requires all selected subtypes to be found before a file is flagged, making it a strict rule suited to high-confidence detection. If one or more subtype, flags a file if any one of the selected subtypes is found, making it a more permissive rule suited to broader detection scenarios. For sensitive words and regular expressions, there are 2 final parameters to configure before saving. Context length defines how many words before and after a detected value are captured in results, giving reviewers the surrounding text they need to judge whether a detection is genuine. Number of hits sets a minimum occurrence threshold, so a document only appears in results if the sensitive content shows up at least that many times. This reduces noise from documents that mention a sensitive term only once in passing. Finally, click Save to store the data type. Once it is saved, the data type becomes available for selection when configuring scans in Discover. From there, you can run a scan against your connected targets and review any file's GuardWare flags against your defined data types. For a complete overview of GuardWare and its features, visit the documentation site at docs.guardware.com.